You lie back, your body resting, your breath slow and deep. The world around you fades into softness, the weight of the blanket, the hush of distant sounds, the stillness that asks nothing of you. And in this stillness, you begin to imagine something that isn't there, nothing, not silence as you know it, not the quiet of a room or the emptiness between words, but a deeper nothing. A nothing without sound, without space to carry sound, without ears to hear it. No stars blinking in. The sky. No sky at all. No atoms, no light, no distance between anything, because there is no thing, and no time, either. Not the slow sweep of a clock's hand, not the rising and setting of suns. Just not yet. Can your mind hold that? It tries. Gently, like cupping water in trembling hands. But the idea slips through. Even in your most still and quiet thoughts, you are filled with presence, a breath, a heartbeat, a flicker of thought. You are something. And so imagining nothing becomes a kind of dream, a riddle too wide to solve. Still, you drift into it. Let it surround you like velvet. Let it stretch out, beyond even imagination itself. This is where the story begins. Or rather, where it doesn't yet begin, because before there was something to begin, there was this blank. Scientists call it the vacuum state, or the singularity, or even the false vacuum, but labels do not tame it. The truth is, we do not know exactly what was there before the universe began, and that is a quiet kind of wonder. You float in this idea, not as a body, but as a thought, a flicker of awareness. If you go back far enough, past your birth, past your ancestors, past the earth itself, you arrive at a place where everything you know vanishes. And still, something waits, or perhaps nothing waits. It's tempting to think of this nothing as a kind of emptiness, like a dark room waiting for someone to enter. But even that is too full. A room has walls. A room has space. A room has potential. True nothingness would have none of that. Yet from this absence, from this not anything, came everything. Galaxies, gravity, breath, thought. All blooming into being from what appears to be the absence of being. And that mystery, that impossible leap from nothing to something, is one of the oldest and deepest questions in all of science. Some theories suggest the universe didn't come from absolute nothing, but from a quantum vacuum, a field that isn't quite empty, just quiet. Others wonder if there was always something, energy, possibility, laws that were never born and never died. And still others ask simply, why is there something instead of nothing? That question has no final answer, not yet. But asking it connects you to the edge of all things, to a place where science and wonder sit side by side in the dark. So here you are, gently curled within that space. Your thoughts ripple softly, like light in deep water. You don't need to solve the riddle. You only need to be present with it. You rest in the folds of the unknown, the mystery of the beginning, and even here, in this almost nothing, there is motion. Not motion as you know it, but a trembling possibility. A whisper of unfolding. A breath that hasn't been taken, but soon will be. It is strange to think that nothing might have structure. That there could be hidden patterns beneath the stillness. In quantum physics, this is more than an idea. It is a foundation. Physicists believe that even the vacuum is not truly empty, that particles can emerge momentarily then vanish again. That fluctuation is woven into the deepest silence, and so perhaps there was never really nothing, only the quiet before a bloom. Only a stillness holding its breath. You imagine the edges of space before space was born. Not a border, not a wall, just a condition, and then, at once, not a change, a ripple, a birth, but not yet. Right now, in this moment of your imagining, the universe is still sleeping, still folded in on itself, still waiting to unfold, and so are you. Your body is heavy, relaxed. Your mind floats, gently turning toward the next part of the story. Where did that first ripple come from? What could cause everything to begin? You breathe slowly, and the silence around you deepens. A silence older than stars. Older than time? And just on the other side of that silence, a whisper begins. You're still floating, suspended in the memory of nothing, wrapped in the warmth of stillness. But now there is a murmur, not a sound. There is still no air to carry it, but a shift, a quiet rearrangement in the deep dot, as if the fabric of the silence takes a breath, and in that breath, something unfolds. Not a bang, not in the way explosions echo on Earth. There is no noise, no fire, no flash. There is simply more space, more time. A soft expansion, spreading outward. Without edge or center dot, this is the Big Bang, not a detonation, but a becoming. Not a blast through space, but the birth of space itself. You don't witness it from the outside. There is no outside. You are inside, always have been. Everything is dot, you drift within it, this swelling bloom of being. A warm, luminous fog stretches around you, thick with potential. Temperature soars beyond imagining. Yet there is no hot or cold as you know it, just energy. Raw and wild, photons dart like fireflies in a glass jar, unable to escape. Quarks, those tiny building blocks of matter, swirl in chaotic, dense. They collide, merge, separate, repeat. Each movement shaping what will become the universe you know. You are witnessing the first second. Just one dot and already the stage is being set. Gravity begins to whisper. Time stretches its limbs and starts to count. The fundamental forces, gravity, electromagnetism, the strong and weak nuclear forces, awaken like ancient gods opening their eyes. The expansion is still happening. Still stretching ever outward, even now as you lie listening. But here, in this tender moment of origin, it is wild and fast. A fraction of a second, and the universe grows larger than galaxies. Scientists call this cosmic inflation. An elegant name for something nearly beyond imagining. A balloon that fills faster than light can travel, though not through space, because space is what's growing, and then it slows. The furious blooming settles. The energy begins to cool, just a little. Enough to let the first particles begin to settle into patterns. You watch as matter starts to take its first steps. Simple, primitive, but pregnant with future complexity. Like notes before a song. Like letters before a poem, protons and neutrons find one another. They embrace, forming nuclei, the seeds of atoms. Electrons dance nearby, not yet tethered, but waiting. The light is trapped, bouncing wildly, unable to stream freely. The fog is thick. This is a universe that cannot yet see itself. But it will. You drift through this warming fog, this primal soup of particles. It's dense but not solid. It feels like possibility, and you, a silent traveler, are held gently by it. This is the moment when the future becomes possible. Because from this chaos, guided by laws as delicate as lace, form will emerge. Hydrogen, helium, the first elements. Simple, yes. But from simplicity, all things grow. The stars that will one day shine, the planets that will orbit them, the hands that will write books, the ears that will hear lullabies, the hearts that will love, all of it. Everything traces back to this hush that swells with becoming dot, and then there is time, not just the ticking of a second, but the story of before and after, of change, of memory. Time has now found its path, and it will never stop walking. You let it carry you like a river, not rushing, not here. You drift. There's nowhere to go, yet everything is becoming. You feel warmth still, not heat, but a kind of presence. The presence of unfolding, the cosmos stretching its fingers toward light, toward thought, toward you. And though this chapter of the universe is dense and shrouded, you begin to sense a coming clarity. A moment far ahead when the fog will lift, when light will finally move freely, when the universe will see itself for the first time, but not yet. There are still hundreds of thousands of years before the first atoms truly form, before stars light the darkness, before galaxies spiral into being. For now, there is this, an ancient fog, a blooming silence, and the memory of a whisper. The beginning of everything, not as a bang, but as a breath. You rest in it, held gently between the lines of time. Your body still. Your thoughts like ripples in calm water. And somewhere ahead, just beyond the veil, you sense the shape of something new, a quiet hum beneath the silence. The shimmer of fields you cannot see, the beginning of what lies beneath emptiness, where nothing was, a whisper has bloomed. And beneath that bloom something stirs again. You are still drifting. Held within the soft afterglow of the universe's first breath. There is no rush. The stars have not yet been born. Galaxies sleep in seeds too small to see that, but now your attention shifts. Not to what is, but to what seems not to be. You focus on the space between things. The quiet stretches, the emptiness. It feels like a pause. But it is not empty. Not truly. This is the vacuum, what science once called nothing, but nothing is not quite the right word. Because even here, in the deepest quiet, something stirs. You glide through it now. A vast sea of seeming stillness. No stars light your path. No particles brush your skin. But beneath it all, there is movement. Imagine a field, not of grass or snow, but of possibility. An invisible web that fills all space, stretching infinitely in every direction. This is not metaphor. Physics tells us that space is filled with fields, like a silent stage waiting for the actors to arrive. And some fields never leave. They're always on, always humming softly. You may have heard of one, the Higgs field. A mysterious presence that gives mass to particles, that gives weight to the world. In here. In this chapter of the story, you begin to sense that even silence has structure. Even nothing has shape. You listen. The vacuum hums, not like a song, but like a presence. It's the quiet before the first instrument plays. The energy that stirs without sound. In quantum mechanics, this is called vacuum energy. Even in absolute emptiness, no particles, no light, tiny fluctuations still arise. Little sparks of almost. They flicker into being and vanish. Again, pairs of particles, ghostly, brief. Born from the energy of the vacuum itself, then gone, like a breath you forget you took. These are quantum fluctuations. The smallest whispers in the deepest dark, too fast to see, too soft to catch. And yet, they're real. Some physicists believe that these fleeting moments, these temporary ripples, played a role in shaping the entire universe. Imagine that. Everything you know may have started as a shimmer in the silence. You float deeper into the vacuum, not afraid. It holds you gently. Not nothing, not quite something, but a third thing. Potential. Potential is everywhere here. Not in the form of plans or ideas, but in the form of energy hidden like heat beneath. A stone, you feel it, a low, eternal presence. As if the space between atoms has a pulse of its own, and this raises a quiet question. If emptiness is never truly empty, did true nothing ever exist? Was there ever a moment, a place, a condition where there were no ripples, no fields, no time, no laws, no possibility at all? Or has the universe always had this undercurrent, a soft restlessness woven into the dark? Science doesn't yet know. Some believe there was never a true void, that fields and energy always existed, waiting in stillness. Others imagine a state beyond even this, a timeless, lawless unreality from which even space and time had to be born. But your role here is not to decide. You are here to float, to feel, to let the quiet show you what it hides. You are drifting through silence that moves, and just ahead, a flicker, a shape in the shape of nothing, a particle, a field, a ripple? You're not sure. It disappears, then appears again. This is the rhythm of quantum space. It pulses softly like a sleeper's breath, unseen but constant. Quiet, but not still. You are beginning to understand. Silence is not absence. It is texture. It is tension held delicately, in balance. It is the stage beneath the stars. The womb before the world. And what seems like nothing is, in truth, the first foundation. This vacuum, this whispering stillness, holds the rules, the fabric, the frame on which all else will be hung. You linger here, not to solve it, not to name it, but to feel it, to be near the quiet that gave birth to every sound. Soon, something will rise from this stillness, a shimmer that lasts, a presence that does not vanish, particles that stay, matter that begins to form. But for now, you rest in the pause, a silence that isn't silence, an emptiness that isn't empty. And just beneath it all, the first dreams of substance begin to stretch open their wings. You are still surrounded by silence. But now you know its secret. It is not a hollow shell. It is a canvas painted with invisible movement. You float deeper into the quantum world. Here, everything is subtle, unfinished, uncertain. You don't walk through it. You drift. Because motion here is not linear, it's a shimmer, a possibility. This is the realm where particles don't always stay. Where matter is not a fixed thing, but a whisper that changes direction when you listen. Where observation itself bends. The story, you are inside the void, and the void is alive with dreams. These are not dreams like yours, full of memories and images. These are quantum dreams. Flashes of being that flicker in and out of possibility. You watch a pair of particles emerge from nothing. They appear as if from nowhere, two ghostly twins, one matter, one antimatter. They spin for the briefest moment and then they vanish, canceling each other out, leaving behind no trace except that they were. This happens all the time, everywhere, even in what seems to be absolute emptiness. The vacuum is a restless surface, a pool of probabilities. And in this pool, the tiniest things ripple. This is quantum fluctuation. It's not a disturbance in space, it's a disturbance of space. Even when you strip away everything you can name, light, particles, forces, there is still this soft hum underneath, a hum of becoming. You drift closer, and the world begins to lose its edges. Things are not quite things. They are waves. They are pulses. They are... Maybe you try to grasp a particle not with your hands, but with your mind. And just as you think you found it, it moves. Or it becomes something else. Or it disappears entirely. This is the uncertainty principle. A core truth of the quantum world. You can know where something is, or you can know how fast it's moving. But never both, not exactly. It's not because your tools are clumsy. It's because reality itself is soft here, blurred at the edges, more like a whisper than a line, and yet, from this whisper, the firm ground of your world will one day emerge. Atoms, molecules, mountains, they all come from this indeterminacy. From this place where things are allowed, not assigned. It's comforting, in a strange way, to know that certainty was never the beginning. That chaos and possibility walked hand in hand before structure ever dared to appear. You pass through a cloud of virtual particles, those flickering pairs that rise and fall like fireflies in the dark. Each one lives for just an instant, but their presence matters. They push, ever so slightly, on the things around them. They shape fields, they influence forces. Their brief lives leave tiny imprints on reality. So much of what we see, so much of what we call real, is sculpted by what is temporary. What is almost, you feel that truth settle gently into your chest. Even what doesn't last can shape what does, and you begin to wonder, could the universe itself, this vast unfolding of stars, space, and time have emerged from a quantum fluctuation? A tiny ripple in the void. That simply didn't vanish, that grew and grew. Until it became all of this. Some scientists believe it's possible that everything this very moment you are breathing in came from a chance event, from a nothing that wasn't really nothing. It's a theory called quantum cosmology, a field that blends the tiniest scales with the grandest story, and in this field, the line between dream and reality becomes very, very thin. You drift further now, not downward or upward, but inward, into the softest edges of existence. You are held in the arms of probability. And you begin to feel how the universe doesn't just allow wonder, it is wonder. There are no clocks here, no maps, just the pulse of being. The rhythm of maybe. You are in the place where logic and magic overlap, not as enemies, but as partners. Where particles can be in two places at once, where one thing can influence another across space, without touching. It's called entanglement, a connection that defies explanation. A thread that binds two particles, so that what happens to one happens to the other. No matter how far apart they are, you don't need to understand it all. You only need to feel it, that the world beneath your feet was born from something deeply strange and quietly miraculous, that behind the scenes of matter there is a dance, invisible, Uncertain but real, and you are part of it. Your body, your breath, your thoughts, all built from quantum dreams that dared to last a little longer than the rest. You close your eyes now. Not to shut the world out, but to fall more deeply into it, even in the stillest moment, the smallest. Ripples shape the tide dot, and somewhere beyond your drifting mind, those ripples begin to settle, to gather, to hold together. A new order is stirring, a subtle structure, a first step toward form. In the trembling quiet of the void, matter begins to find its way. You are floating still, not through space, not through matter, but through something quieter, the gentle space between thoughts. Here, the universe hasn't yet found its rhythm. There are no stars to rise and fall, no planets to turn, no shadows stretching across a day. So you ask yourself softly, if nothing moves, if nothing changes, does time exist at all? This question curls around you like mist. It is not meant to be answered quickly. You let it sit. You breathe it in. Time is something we often wear like a coat, with schedules, calendars, the ticking hand of a clock. But those things are human inventions. Helpful, yes. But they are not time itself. Time, in the language of the cosmos, is more like a thread. Not something you see, but something that holds everything else together. But in the earliest moment of the universe, before the first particles settled, before energy became matter, before expansion had a story, what was time doing? Some scientists say that time too had a beginning, that it burst into being with space and matter, woven into the very fabric of what we call the Big Bang. Others imagine something stranger. That time may have existed before, but in a form we cannot recognize. A time without cause, without direction, without flow. You float now in this idea of a time that is not time, a presence without before or after, a stillness so complete it contains every motion yet to come. In physics, this is sometimes called imaginary time, a concept not of fantasy but of mathematics, where time runs not in a line but like a circle, closed and eternal. You imagine that circle now, not as a loop, but as a breath that never ends. A hum that holds all the notes of the song, but hasn't played them yet. And in that silence, in that strange, still, timeless place, the universe begins to stretch. Motion awakens time. Not with a sound, but with a shift. A ripple. As energy expands, as particles flicker into being, time begins to flow, like a stream that begins with a single drop. A direction appears, a sense of past and future. The arrow of time is drawn, but why does it point forward? Why do we remember yesterday, but not tomorrow? You drift with that question. It's one of the oldest in science, and one of the most poetic. Many believe the answer lies in entropy, the natural tendency of things to move from order to disorder. A sandcastle falling apart, a cup of tea growing cold, a memory fading but never reversing. Entropy gives time its direction. Not because the universe prefers mess, but because mess is more likely. And so, from the stillness, from the tight, tidy energy of the early universe, everything begins to spread, to scatter, to cool, to unfold, and time flows forward like a sigh. You ride that sigh now. Your body relaxed, your breath steady. You think of how time touches you, in the rhythm of your heart, in the quiet aging of your cells, in the stories you carry from one moment to the next. You are a vessel of time, a keeper of its passage. And yet, as you lie still now, there's a paradox. Sometimes, in rest, you feel outside of time. Moments stretch, thoughts drift. You forget what hour it is. What day? This is not an accident. Your mind knows how to soften time, to loosen its grip, to return, if only for a moment, to something more fluid. And maybe that's what the early universe was like. Not a ticking clock, but a field of drifting possibility. A breath that hadn't yet decided where to go. Even now, time is not absolute. Einstein taught us that time moves faster in some places, slower in others. Near a black hole, time stretches. In deep space, time relaxes. On Earth, time moves just fast enough to carry you gently forward. It is not a rigid river, but a flexible fabric, warped and woven by gravity and motion. You float through that fabric now, not rushing, just being and Somewhere ahead, in the direction time is now flowing, something else is stirring, particles that linger. Energy that begins to settle. Light that will soon be free, but for now, you rest in the warmth of time's first unfolding. You let it hold you, as it has held the stars, the oceans, the trees, your breath. Time has begun. But it is still young, still stretching, still learning to carry what's coming. And just beyond this moment, in the next gentle beat of the universe, the emptiness will reveal its hidden power. You are floating now. Not through matter, not among stars, but through what looks like nothing at all. It is calm here, silent, still, and yet, as your breath softens, you sense something, a slow, steady pull, not loud, not violent, but real. This is not gravity pulling in. This is something else. Something that does the opposite. It pushes. You are drifting in what seems like emptiness. But emptiness, in the language of the cosmos, is never truly empty. Even space itself has energy, a strange, quiet energy woven into the very structure of reality. This energy has no shape, no sound, no color, but it moves the universe. Scientists call it dark energy, not because it's bad or dangerous, but because it's hidden, mysterious, unseen. And yet it is all around you, in the space between galaxies, in the calm between particles. Even between the atoms in your body. It doesn't glow like starlight. It doesn't pull like gravity. It simply expands. Dark energy is the force behind the universe's acceleration. Not just growing, but growing faster and faster, like a balloon that doesn't just stretch, but stretches faster the more air you add. At first, scientists didn't believe it. The universe should be slowing down, they thought. After the Big Bang, gravity should have begun to pull everything back. But in 1998, two teams of astronomers looked at distant supernova, exploding stars, like lighthouses frozen in time. And what they saw changed everything. These ancient lights weren't just far away. They were farther than expected, as if the space between had stretched more than it should have. As if the universe wasn't slowing down, but speeding up. It was as if emptiness had a secret engine, a quiet breath that grew stronger with time. You are floating in that breath now. Each second, the space between galaxies stretches wider. Not from motion, but from expansion. Dark energy doesn't push you directly. You don't feel it in your body, but you are surrounded by it, immersed in it, like a leaf on a rising tide. You wonder now, what is this strange energy? Where does it come from? Why does it exist? No one knows for sure. But one idea takes you deep into the poetry of physics. It begins with the quantum vacuum, a place that seems empty. But isn't. In quantum physics, even nothingness is alive? Particles flicker in and out of existence, appearing for a heartbeat, then vanishing again. These are called virtual particles, ghosts of matter, borrowing energy from space itself. It's as if the universe is never completely still, always humming, always breathing. Even in its quietest corners, this quantum dance fills space with a kind of energy, tiny, restless, but everywhere. And when you spread that tiny energy across all of space, it adds up. Quietly, relentlessly. It expands the universe. This, some believe, is dark energy. The breath of the quantum vacuum, stretching space itself, but others wonder if dark energy is something even deeper, a property of space-time itself. A gentle pressure written into the fabric of the cosmos from the very beginning. Still others speak of a cosmological constant, a term Einstein once added to his equations, then removed, then others brought back. A constant, a whisper in the laws of physics that tells the universe to expand, and expand and expand. You may never see dark energy. You may never touch it, but right now, as you lie still, your body is moving with it. Every breath you take rides the wave of cosmic expansion. Galaxies drift farther apart. Light stretches thinner. Time flows forward. And all the while, the invisible tide continues to rise. Some say dark energy will eventually tear the universe apart. That in the distant future, stars will drift so far they will no longer see each other. Galaxies will fade from view. Everything, even atoms, may unravel, but not yet. Not now, tonight. You rest in the comfort of space, still expanding, but still holding you close. You are small, but not alone. You are adrift, but never lost. The same mystery that stretches galaxies also hums in the space between your thoughts. It is not a force to fear, but a rhythm to breathe with. You close your eyes. You feel the silence of dark energy, not empty, but full of motion you cannot see, and you wonder if this strange, hidden energy is not the end of something, but the beginning of understanding that space itself is not a void, but a song still being sung, and just ahead. In the next quiet chapter comes the moment light first breaks free, the birth of vision. The dawn of cosmic clarity, the silence of space stretches around you, vast and ancient. Yet not empty, you float through it calmly as if wrapped in a soft veil of memory. For all the darkness that has cradled the cosmos so far, a glow is coming. The universe has been expanding and cooling. Its early fire, once blinding, is now gentle. Atoms are forming, hydrogen, helium, the simplest whispers of matter. And then something changes. The fog lifts. The heat thins. And for the very first time in cosmic history, light is free to move. Until now, light has been trapped, scattered endlessly by hot, loose particles. Imagine trying to shine a flashlight in thick fog. The beam breaks apart, lost before it begins. That was the early universe, a sea of fire and mist where light could not find its way, but slowly everything cools. Electrons settle into orbits. Atoms become whole. And in that moment, a transformation. The fog clears and light escapes. This first light is not like the sunlight that warms your skin. It is colder now, older, gentler, but it has never stopped moving. It has traveled across billions of years. It surrounds you, even now. This is the cosmic microwave background, the afterglow of the Big Bang, a soft, ancient light that has been cooling ever since and now lingers as a faint whisper. In the sky, you can't see it with your eyes. But with the right instruments, with radio telescopes tuned to microwaves, you can detect it. It's everywhere. In every direction. A cosmic echo, a memory of when the universe first became transparent. It was discovered almost by accident by two scientists in 1965, Arno Penzias and Robert Wilson. They were trying to eliminate noise from their antenna, but the hiss wouldn't go away. No matter where they pointed, the sound remained. They didn't know it at the time, but they were listening to the birth of visible light. The moment the cosmos opened its eyes, you imagine yourself drifting through that glow now. It's not hot anymore. In fact, it's cold, only about 2.7 degrees above absolute zero, but it is constant, reliable, reassuring, a background lullaby sung by the universe itself. Scientists have mapped this light, incredibly precise. Measurements of tiny temperature differences across the sky. These variations are small. 1 part in 100,000, but they tell a deep, intricate story. They show where matter began to clump, where galaxies would one day form, where stars would one day shine. This light is like the baby photo of the universe. Fuzzy, but full of clues, and like any photo, it helps us remember. To understand where we came from. As you float now, you feel this ancient glow on your skin. It doesn't warm you, but it soothes. It tells you that even in deep time, there is continuity. That the same light which first traveled freely still moves through you. It stretches with the universe, its wavelength growing longer, its tone dropping lower. What was once a brilliant orange has become a quiet microwave hum, and yet it endures. In its rhythm, you hear a lesson. Nothing is lost. Everything transforms. Light changes, but it never disappears. You may wonder, what does it mean for light to travel? It's not just motion through space, it's the unfolding of history. Each wave of light carries with it a timestamp, a signature of when and where it began. The light from your lamp was born less than a billionth of a second ago. The light from the sun 8 minutes ago. The light from distant galaxies billions of years ago, and this microwave background? Over 13 billion years in transit. A message sent before there were planets, before life, before time had meaning. You feel it all around you now, not in brightness, but in presence. And even though the light is faint, its story is vast. It tells us the age of the universe. It tells us its shape, its speed, Its future, this quiet radiation has become one of the most important clues in all of cosmology. And all of it, every ripple, every pixel of light, comes from that one peaceful moment when atoms formed and photons were finally free. You breathe in, slowly, and exhale. The rhythm of your breath feels like the rhythm of that early release. You imagine light not as a flash, but as a gentle unfolding, a warmth not of heat but of memory. You may not see this light with your eyes, but your body knows it. Your atoms were shaped in the echo of its glow. And tonight, as you drift deeper into rest, you are still held in the soft arms of that ancient light, but ahead, something more begins to form. Not just particles, not just energy, but structure. The first stars are about to shine. Gravity begins its slow dance. The cosmos is ready to light the fire of creation. You are nearly there. Let your eyes close. Gently, let the glow of the first light carry you. And in the next chapter, we follow gravity's call into the heart of the first stars. Darkness once ruled all, soft and velvet but empty. Then the first light, gentle, wide and cold, a fading echo from a younger time. But now, in this stillness, something stirs, a pull, a tremble, a faint vibration in the silence. It is gravity, patient, persistent, powerful. Gravity never sleeps. It waits. It gathers. Every tiny clump of gas, every stray particle, every drifting cloud, it all feels gravity's slow embrace. And in the deepest, loneliest corners of the cosmos, those clouds begin to fall inward. They spiral, they swirl, they press. No rush, no explosion, just steady collapse. And then, when the pressure becomes unbearable, when atoms are crushed so tightly they cry out, a spark. Hydrogen fuses into helium, heat floods outward, and a star is born, the first one, then another, then 1,000 more. Across the vast emptiness, pinpoints of fire appear. Small at first, then radiant. The night sky, once silent, begins to sing. These are not stars like the ones you see today. They are giants, hundreds of times larger than our sun, hotter, brighter, shorter-lived. You float among them now. Not as a visitor, but as a witness. Their light is raw, white, piercing, but beautiful. They burn not for billions of years, but only for millions. Brief flames in the early darkness. But what a flame it is! Inside these stars, something sacred happens. Alchemy. Hydrogen becomes helium, then carbon, then oxygen, then iron. The elements of your body, your bones, your breath, your heartbeat are being born here. In these stellar furnaces, every gold ring, every drop of calcium in your blood, every atom of iron in your blood, was once forged in the heart of a dying star. You are not made of stardust, you are stardust. Just cooled, shaped, and awakened. As the first stars burn, they reshape the universe. Their light tears through the darkness, rayonizing the fog, revealing space as open, endless, and alive. Their winds push matter away, sculpting the first galaxies. And when they die, they do not go quietly. They collapse, they explode. They shatter themselves in spectacular death throes called supernova. These explosions are not just violent. They are creative. In a moment of death, new elements are born: nickel, uranium, copper, zinc. Seeds for new worlds, new chemistry, new possibilities. You float now in the ashes of those stars. They swirl around you like glowing petals in a cosmic breeze. And even though those first stars are gone, their gifts remain. They enrich the universe. They made it ready for planets, for oceans, for life. You breathe deeply, and the silence returns. But this time, it's different. It is no longer emptiness, it is potential. A calm after creation. Above you, galaxies begin to spin. Below, dust coalesces into stones. And far ahead, a little blue planet waits for its own light to rise. But not yet. There's still more to form, more to burn, more to fall and rise again. The stars whisper a lesson as you drift. To shine, one must collapse. To give light, one must burn. To create, one must first be undone. You rest in that truth. You feel it in your chest, in your bones. In your story, you are not apart from the stars. You are their echo, their child, Their continuation. As your eyes close a little more, you imagine the light of those first suns touching your face. Not with heat, but with memory. Their glow still travels, still moves, still shapes space and time. And as galaxies rise, as planets swirl, you float forward on this endless current of light. Soon the stars will find partners. Gravity will gather them. Spiral arms will bloom. Galaxies will collide and dance, and somewhere, within one quiet arm of one quiet galaxy, a small yellow star will begin to shine. That is for the next chapter. For now, sleep within the light of the first fire. The stars are no longer alone. They are joined by companions, disks of dust and ice circling like rings of possibility. One of these stars, quiet, golden, not too big, not too small, spins. Slowly in a corner of a newly forming galaxy. You drift closer. Not with speed, but with intention. Around this star, a cloud has begun to settle. Spinning, flattening, organizing, gravity once again takes the lead. Dust collides with dust. Grain joins grain. Little by little, pebbles grow into rocks, rocks, into mountains, mountains, into worlds. It does not happen in a moment. It takes time, millions of years, but time is patient here. It knows how to wait for beauty, and then, amid the swirl and storm, one world begins to form, small, blue, shy, not yet alive, but ready. It spins under the gaze of its star, pulling itself into shape, gathering oceans, breathing in gases that will one day become the sky. You float above it, watching clouds form over molten seas and volcanic plains. Everything is wild, unforgiving, but not chaotic. There is a rhythm here, and inside that rhythm, inside warm, shallow pools and deep, dark vents, the impossible begins. Chemicals meet. They bind, they break. They bind again. At first, it is just movement, just reaction. But slowly, pattern emerges, and pattern becomes replication. Replication becomes memory, and memory becomes life. The first life is small, invisible to you, simple, humble, but it is alive. And with it, earth changes. It breathes. It transforms its air. It lays down fossils of itself as time passes like a dream. You feel the planet's pulse even now. You sense the gentle pressure of its gravity, the push of its winds, the thrum of possibility in its oceans. This is no longer just a planet. It is a story, a spark. It is still quiet here, still waiting. But something has begun that will not stop. This blue world, barely noticeable from a distance, is writing its own chapter in the great cosmic book. You imagine touching its surface, not with hands but with wonder. What does it feel like to be so small and yet hold the future inside you? As the sun rises over its horizon, you see shadows form across continents still young, still shifting, and above all, the stars watch. They remember the fire that made this world. They see now what their light has helped awaken. You are floating above a planet that will dream, a world that will ask questions, a place where, someday, a species will look up at the sky and wonder, where did we come from? What else is out there? Are we alone? But not yet. For now, the planet spins, the oceans dance, and the spark grows. Let yourself rest here. Not in the noise of civilization, but in the whisper of tides, in the breath of clouds, in the silence between pulses. You are near the beginning, but not at the start. You are part of the middle, but not the end. This spark, this pale blue dot, will carry the memory of stars in its oceans, in its rocks, in the beings yet to come. Soon, this spark will bloom, it will walk, it will build, it will reach back toward the stars from which it came. But for now, sleep in the shadow of its quiet sunrise. Breathe in the warmth of a world just beginning to remember what it means to be alive. You rest in the blue hush of Earth's ancient waters. It is still a quiet world. There is no birdsong, no trees, no laughter, only tide and time. Beneath the surface, life stirs, gently. A dance of single cells, tiny architects of what's to come. You drift lower, suspended in ancient seas where sunlight fades into a cool, green blur. It is here, in the quiet dark, that life writes its first long poem, not in words, but in structure, a membrane, a nucleus. A spark, single cells divide, divide again. generation after generation learning to survive by doing, adapting without knowing. Their lives are brief, but their lineage is eternal. Each one carries the memory of the one before. Some join forces, some form partnerships, some consume the sun itself and learn to turn light into energy. You feel that shift, subtle, revolutionary. Oxygen begins to fill the seas, invisible yet transformational. A breath no one yet knows how to take, but one day it will shape the sky. Eons pass like heartbeats. The earth spins slowly, its crust reshaping, its waters teeming with unseen miracles. Then something changes. One cell becomes two, not by splitting, but by merging. Inside this cooperation, complexity awakens. Cells learn to specialize. To build together. To grow bodies, bones, blood. You hover in the shallows of time, watching the first multicellular beings glide through the water. Soft-bodied and strange, delicate and brave. There are no predators yet. No fear. Only curiosity and the endless rhythm of growth. Life explores form, tentacles, spines, shells, fins. Every shape is a guess, an idea whispered into matter. Not all survive, but those that do change the game forever. The ocean becomes a laboratory of transformation. Movement becomes a language. Sensation becomes strategy. Now, creatures feel the world, light, touch, motion, and with that awareness, the first nervous systems emerge, gathering signals like stars gathering gravity. You marvel at the pace. It feels slow, but it is rushing by in the grand measure of the cosmos. You witness the Cambrian bloom, a sudden wild explosion of shapes and instincts, jaws, eyes, armor. Life begins to protect itself, to chase, to flee, to compete. This is the birth of desire. Not conscious, but real, the will to live, to continue, to become more. You float through this storm of creation, this garden of motion and intention, and you understand. Evolution is not a ladder. It is a tree, branching, bending, sometimes breaking, always growing. From seabeds to coral reefs, life paints the planet with color and hunger. Every creature carries the stars in its cells, and in each eye you glimpse a memory of the void. You feel time stretch again, continents shift, ice ages pass, extinctions cleanse and restart the canvas. And still, life endures. It becomes amphibian, then reptilian, then feathered, scaled, and fured. The earth is no longer quiet. It sings, it roars, it cries, but in that noise is wisdom. In every cycle, growth, collapse, renewal, something essential is learned, and somewhere, in the deep forest of time, a new idea begins to form. Not just life, but mind. Not just instinct, but awareness. Something is waking. Something that will look at the world and wonder why it is here. But that is still to come. For now, rest in the long awakening. Feel the breath of life as it stretches through epochs. No rush, no destination. Just the unfolding of complexity through patience. The earth continues to turn. Its sky brightens. Its songs multiply. And somewhere, deep in a canopy, a spark begins to watch the stars instead of just living beneath them. You sit by a fire that was never truly invented, only discovered, a gift from lightning held long enough to become a friend. The night is cool. The stars shimmer above you, unreachable, but somehow familiar. You are not alone. Around you, others gather, some silent, some murmuring, all alive in a new way, a way that no other creature has yet known, because you do not only feel, you do not only react, you imagine, you remember, you wonder. This is the birth of something sacred. Not a tool, not a weapon, but a mirror. Consciousness. It begins quietly, a flicker behind the eyes, a shape in a dream, a question that has no answer. You gaze into the flames and see not just light, but meaning. The shadows they cast remind you of stories. And stories become maps through time. Around the fire, language is forming. Not just sounds, but symbols. Not just warning calls, but poetry. And with language, you give shape to the invisible, to fear, to joy, to the idea of self. You look at another face and recognize it not as a threat, but as you. Reflected, empathy is born. And from it, art. burial ritual, you place ochre on cave walls. Handprints and animals, scenes of hunts and dreams, you do not know why, but something in you needs to create, to remember. To connect. The universe for the first time is becoming self-aware. It is you. And you are beginning to realize it. You lift your eyes to the stars. They are still so far. But in your mind, you begin to trace patterns, constellations, stories across the sky. The heavens become a calendar, a compass, a source of awe. You wonder, where did we come from? Why are we here? These are not questions of survival. They are questions of the soul, and they mark a turning point. From existence to experience, from instinct to introspection, the human brain, 3 pounds of soft tissue, becomes the most complex object in the known universe. It dreams of gods. It invents time. It mourns the dead. It seeks the infinite, and yet it is still made of stardust. Still cradled by gravity, still humming with electricity born in the first moments of the cosmos. You are the story. Asking about the storyteller. You are the echo. Wondering who made the sound. You walk through forests, over mountains, across deserts, carrying fire in your hands and questions in your heart. Civilizations rise. Scripts are etched into stone. Laws are written, temples built, books copied. And still, the questions remain. What is life? What lies beyond the stars? What happens after death? You may never know, but it is the asking that changes everything, because the mirror of the mind does not just reflect what is. It envisions what could be. It dreams of wings, of flight, of standing on the moon and calling it home. This is not arrogance. It is longing. To return to whatever first whispered your name in the silence before the first breath. You are becoming more than a creature. You are becoming a witness. And the fire beside you, though small, holds the light of galaxies waiting to be understood. The night deepens, the sky turns, and still your mind reaches outward into the dark, into the mystery, and somewhere on the edge of thought, a new kind of question stirs. What if we are not alone?